Welcome one, welcome all to DeFi, Crypto, and Airdrops. I am Mike, aka Veteran Crypto, and with me as always on Fridays is my boy David from DeFi
Yes, sir.
University. How's it going, brother?
I'm doing really well, Mike. I'm enjoying BTC's rally, watching ETH break above resistance and starting to take a look at some altcoin plays. I think that we might be approaching, a true alt season, hopefully within the next couple of days. So things are good, man.
I hope so. I hope so because I opened up very degen like without checking with you or anybody that I know. I opened up a couple of longs and they're doing all right. I opened them on a Avantis. Doing a 4x on AVNT and a 6x on Arrow, and I'm up about 60% on my AVNT long. And I think I'm just going to let it ride because I keep hearing everybody talk about how they're really feeling like that October is starting to look like it's going to play out.
Certainly does look that way. But there's always going to be risk, right? And so the core risk for me right now that I'm watching is like liquidation risk. So
Mm.
if you take a look at, maybe on CoinGlass, the liquidation heat map there, you know, uh,
Well, here,
we
if you want to pull
tend,
it up, we can go ahead and get you
yeah, let me
dialed.
go, let me go ahead and pull this up real quick, and then we can take a look at this together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, Mike, and we can dive into this stuff.
Well, while
Alrighty.
you're doing that, real quick, let me go over our socials because I want to definitely let people know where to find you and where to find us. So let's do this real quick. Let's transition over. Not sure what happened there, but let's. All right. Well, it's wanting to be glitchy, so let's go ahead and do this.
It's pretty good to
Uh,
see BTC up above 122, man.
it is.
It's
It is.
shaping up to be this rally is quite a bit different than the first time that we approached 124. Um, this rally looks to be a little bit more sustainable. So we shall see.
We definitely shall see. Oh, that's the one that I need to get rid of. Hold on. A little discombobulated right here. Yeah, I'd like to. All right. So, if you haven't found us on YouTube, it's a DeFi, Crypto, and Airdrop. Go ahead and check us out here. A lot of really great content, and of course, that's the easiest way you're going to be able to find our brother channels. Discover Crypto, Jeff over the Blockchain Report for airdrops. Jake Call, that's on our Wednesday show with David. Another great resource when it comes to DeFi, and founder of Metrics Finance, which is the application that me and David and many others use to help us track our portfolios, our DeFi portfolios, and to also simulate positions. And here very soon, going to be launching a borrowing and lending aspect to it too. So really excited for that. And then, of course, David over at DeFi University he just started his YouTube channel. So if you can help him grow that, we would greatly appreciate it. We're always looking to add, content creators with integrity. I'll put it that way to our family of channels. Very, very selective about who we, kind of promote because we want to make sure that it's people that are genuinely invested in your success and not just, talking about things that they're paid to talk about. So, again, David, Jake, Blockchain Report, all great resources. And then this
Here,
is
Mike,
David.
let me just hop in real quick. So, there's a lot of guys out there that make their money selling courses. Okay.
Yes.
So there's a lot of people that, you know, there's a difference between chauffeur knowledge and
Hmm.
true knowledge. And,
Yes.
when you have true knowledge, whenever you don't know something, you can almost proudly say, hey, you know what? I don't know about that. Let me find out though.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
you've got chauffeur knowledge, people will just keep rambling on about stuff that they have no idea about. So there's a couple of people that come to mind here. I'm not going to name any names, but when you're when you're taking a look
I'm
on
not going to name any
YouTube.
names, but their initials are.
No, there's a lot of people though who, have some money, can put up big numbers on the screen, but
Yes.
they made that money by selling courses, not by doing DeFi full time. So if I was entering this space, you know, just getting started, I would make sure that the people who become my mentors, the people who I'm learning from, that they're actually doing this for a living. You need to learn from someone who has made all the mistakes and can point you in the right direction and show you what to avoid. That's almost
Well,
more important than showing you what to do.
that's and I definitely want to stress that. That's something that I learned in my professional career in the military was because mistakes ultimately can you can pay the ultimate price if you make mistakes make mistakes there. And so I learned very quickly to align myself with people that had not weren't just successful but had made mistakes and was able to utilize that experience to improve and become better. And sometimes they made very very bad mistakes, and but they were able to learn from those. And that's there's certain things that you don't need to make, mistakes that you don't need to make, because if you find a good community and a good mentor, they can help you navigate past a lot of those beginner mistakes that you've potentially could make on your own. And that's what I've been trying to do with this channel. Is initially I just started it as a vlog, basically, for my journey learning.
Mike, your audio seems to be changing a little bit.
All right, I
There we
appreciate it.
go, much better.
But basically this channel was started as me, because everybody that I was able to find out there that talked about DeFi was like you talked about. They have these huge portfolios talking well above anything that I could understand and most people out there. And so I just started it as, what, I have some spare money that I can make mistakes. A lot of people out there don't. I'm gonna just kind of do a little do episodes, show what I'm doing, showing mistakes that I make, showing successes that I have, and hopefully help some people navigate from beginner to getting to a place to where they can be truly successful in DeFi and kind of change their financial future. So yeah, I definitely feel you there. But real quick, DeFi University. This is the channel that David just started. A lot of really great material here, and then also our Discord. Everything here is free. It's we don't charge for anything. We really just want to be a resource of truth and allow you all out there the knowledge and the comfort of knowing that anything that you hear here is not paid for. We are not pushing something because we are profiting from it. We are pushing it because it is something that we know is going to help you be successful. So all right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into this. If you want to throw your screen up, I'll pop it up on the. Let's try this again.
Alrighty, let's try this one more time here. I'm going to share the window. That's what it told me I had to do. Oh, it won't let me share audio. So let's try one more time. Okay, entire screen. And Mike, it
There
should be working now. Let me know if you
we go.
can see it.
Let me just adjust it, and I'll bring it over. There we go. All right.
Awesome. All righty. So why don't we just start things off, Mike, with a little bit of a market update? So, I want to start things off here today with BTC because we've seen this beautiful rally off of an important level of support. And let me just go ahead and draw that in real quick. So notice this trend line support. This is a daily time frame. We're sitting above, or we were, BTC was sitting above the 200-day moving average during this correction. So let me just draw in another important level that has been broken to the upside. So when BTC tested the 117.5 level back in the middle of September, we had what's referred to as a look above and fail. So if I zoom in here, yeah, all these,
A whack a mole.
yeah, look above and fail. So, all of these different, there's all this jargon, right? But this, brief peak above this level of resistance and then the failure. But look at where we found support. We found support at this, longer-ish trend line support right here. So this anchor point dates back to, the end of April. So this is, not super long term, but meaningful enough. And BTC found support and then ripped higher and broke above 117 and a half. And now that we're up in this, rarefied air up here, I think that the next level of resistance is the all-time high.
Hmm.
So that is the next level of resistance. Would not surprise me to see that all-time high broken to the upside over the weekend. That wouldn't surprise me at all. So
Low
let's
liquid or low volume. I mean, it would definitely be easy for somebody to push it higher.
Man, what just happened there? Okay, so I need to restart the screen share here, Mike, one more time. There we go. So that should be working now. Awesome. So one thing that I'm on the lookout for. Remember, I always take into account all available information, be it bullish, bearish, neutral, doesn't matter. I need as much information as possible to make an informed decision. And so when I take a look here at the RSI, so, RSI, for anyone who is unfamiliar with the relative strength index, is a measurement of momentum. It's a momentum indicator. And what I have done here is I've drawn a level of resistance, trendline resistance on the RSI. And so this is what's referred to as a divergence, a bearish divergence. But take a look at the RSI making lower highs as price has made higher highs. So this is referred to as divergence. So this RSI indicator has on the daily time frame on BTC made a series of lower highs as price has made a series of higher highs. So what I'm looking for potentially over the weekend and what I'm watching quite closely here is to see if the RSI can push above this level of resistance, break firmly into the overbought territory. So, overbought territory, when we're talking about RSI, is a reading above 70. Oversold territory is a reading below 30. So, I'm looking for RSI to push higher, break resistance, and invalidate this bearish divergence. So, that's what I'm looking for RSI on BTC. Now, if we bring things on over here to Ethereum, um, this is a daily time frame. And notice RSI is pushing higher, but we are not in overbought territory yet for the RSI on ETH. This is on the daily time frame. Notice also if I draw in this trend line, if we break above here, it looks like the next stop would be 70. So that's on the daily. But once you zoom in, you change the time frame that you're analyzing the chart on, you're going to get a different reading. And this is important just to check multiple time frames because you'll get signals that you wouldn't get if you don't check all the different time frames. Notice every time RSI on the 4 hour has broken above 70, that has marked some type of at least an immediate term top. It doesn't necessarily mean it marks a long term top, but it marks some type of top. So this is just something interesting to watch. It's obviously sometimes more art than science here, but this is an
So,
important piece of data.
so to kind of translate that a little bit, would you say that though each of those overbought RSIs on that 4 hour, that potentially that could be at least a short term pullback?
Depends. It
Okay.
depends. So RSI can remain overbought for a long period of time. RSI, printing above 70 or below 30 does not necessarily mean that the trend suddenly reverses. This is just, one piece of information that I use to help me determine what to do next. But with RSI on the 4 hour above 70 and with ETH sitting at resistance, if we just go ahead and zoom in so that we can see this a little bit more clearly here. So this level of trend line resistance, ETH has been uh, rejected by this level of resistance so far during today's session, but we did break above it just briefly. I could
Mm,
actually change this a little bit. Have not quite broken above it, not yet. So I do think that this is going to break to the upside. Yes, RSI is reading overbought, but RSI can stay overbought for a long time. So
mm,
it wouldn't surprise me if this pushes a little bit higher and we get the breakout above that level of resistance. What would I be looking for if this level of resistance breaks? I would look for a test of 47.65. This would be the next level of resistance.
mm.
And if there's going to be some type of pullback, then if we get the breakout, I'd be looking for the retest before pushing higher. However, there's so much momentum in this market right now that we may not even get the retest at all. If there's a
Gotcha.
breakout, it may just push.
Yep.
So,
And here's a really good question. Sorry, I just don't want to. It's such a good question. I want to make sure that we get to it. What is the difference between the RSI and the stochastic RSI?
yeah, so the stochastic moves more quickly. And RSI, you know, if I don't have a definition that I can just rattle off the top of my head, I'll
Oh
hop
yeah,
on
yeah.
over here and ask Claude.
I do.
So,
I do it
what
all
is
the
the
time, man.
difference? Yeah, stochastic RSI and regular RSI, I guess you could say. Let's see what Sonnet 4.5 comes back with. Oh, they want me to pay more money. Okay, so I'm going to go from Claude, I'm going to go on over to Grok instead. And let's see what Grok has to say about the difference between stochastic and regular RSI. I think one just moves more quickly than the other. But
Hmm.
let's see what Grok has to say for us here. And the one thing that I really like about Grok, Mike, and everyone is it's less PC than these other models.
Yeah.
So it and it also has access to everything on X. So it gives you more in real life information, which I think is cool.
There's been a
Okay.
couple times I've had to tell Grok it's being a little too PC, and I'm like, all right, Grok, stop this shit.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I can't stand that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see here. Regular RSI. The relative strength index is a momentum oscillator that measures the speed and change of price movements in an asset. It compares the magnitude of recent gains to recent losses over a specific period, typically 14 days, to determine overbought or oversold conditions. Okay, so that's regular RSI. Stochastic RSI is an indicator derived from the regular RSI, essentially applying the stochastic oscillator formula to RSI values rather than directly to price data. Okay, so that explains here why you see this yellow. So this yellow is actually the stochastic RSI, I think. And then that purple line is the regular RSI. So
Okay.
the stochastic looks like it's almost like a moving average derived from the RSI itself, which is kind of cool.
All
Um,
right.
but yeah, this is an overbought reading on the 4 hour, but we don't see overbought yet on the daily, and we don't see overbought on the weekly. Not quite yet. So I think that there's more room for ETH to run higher. I'm looking at 4,700 as the next level of resistance, and let's see. We need to break this level of resistance first at like 45.80 or so. So really, really
Well,
close. Let's see what happens over the weekend.
well, if you were to boil down, what kind of key indicators that you would want to see over this weekend, rest of today, over this weekend, and potentially into Monday, to really confirm what some people are saying that we're just right on the cusp of a parabolic alt season. Are some of the things that you would want to see to confirm that?
Sure. So what I would really like to see is ETH starting to push higher in Bitcoin terms. I
Mm-hmm.
want to see ETH BTC push higher. And so if we just zoom out here a little bit, this is ETH BTC.
Mm-hmm.
And my target is this level of resistance. If I zoom out to a weekly, we can see this a little bit more clearly. So this is just simple trend line resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really simple. I've got this 200-week moving average drawn in here. And I think that ETH could approach 0.055. So that would be ETH BTC 0.055. So that's basically like, ETH is 5.5% of Bitcoin. So
Mm-hmm.
if Bitcoin is trading for $150,000, then that would give you a price for BTC if BTC, or I'm sorry, if ETH hits
Mm-hmm.
0.055, that would give you $8,200 ETH.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I'm looking at here. Um, it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? That that's like almost a double, almost
Yeah.
a double from current prices. It becomes really difficult to project, the future value of one of these digital assets once you break out to fresh all-time highs. So I've kind of been resorting to using just a Fibonacci retracement tool. And so
Mm-hmm.
what I just did here is I threw down a fib retracement from the all-time highs here, drug it down to the lows back in April of this year. And all I've marked on the chart here is a couple of extensions. Now, there's really only one extension that is important, and it's the 618. So this 1.618 extension comes in at $7,200. So, I mean, hey, that's one hell of a move out of ETH. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you could get to that target in another way too. Does anyone here see this beautiful bull flag pattern that I see? This is
Even with my very limited knowledge of chart, of TA, I was looking at that while you were talking.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a weekly, and I think that this is a bull flag. So the bull flag, you need to have the downsloping flag. And so if we wanted to,
Channel.
generate, yeah, so if we wanted to generate a measured move, we would measure from trough to peak and then add that to the peak. So we would go something like this. And so that
ten
gives us a
thousand dollar
measured
ETH.
well, that gives us a measured move up here at $7,700. I mean, you can't underestimate how quickly ETH can move. This thing can move really, really fast. If we
Well,
take a look at
one thing I
ETH,
want to point out real quick. I mean, aside from charts, I mean, just fundamentally, if you look at a lot of alts out there, I mean, Morpho is a perfect example. Over $2 billion market cap, and the price hasn't moved. ETH, I mean, just all of the building and DeFi and RWAs and TVL that's being injected and, the Biddle fund. And I mean, just billions upon billions of dollars, being tokenized and injected in on chain. And the prices are not reflecting it. I mean, I really feel like with the prices as beat down as they are and the massive amounts of liquidity that are being injected, that I mean, when this lets loose, I mean, it's got to do something.
maybe. I certainly hope so. So there's, in my mind, a big difference between TVL on a protocol and number go up for that protocol token. So those two things aren't necessarily connected at all.
Well,
Um,
but the TVL being injected is transactions. So everybody that's buying and selling that tokenized asset, especially on ETH mainnet, everybody that's trading, that asset, anyone that is minting, an RWA, all of those things are transactions, on chain that they require ETH. Am I wrong?
yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that number go up. That's the thing. So there needs to be a value accrual mechanism, and that's, I think, a pretty good segue into one of my favorite altcoin plays for a potential alt season, which is ETHFi, because I've done a deep dive on ETHFi for everyone in DeFi University. and I've been posting about it a
Speaking of
little bit.
which, DeFi Don is one of your boys over there at DeFi University.
Yeah, man, Don's great, dude.
I love
So
that guy.
yeah, man. So let's take a look at
Oh,
ETH.
and Luis, we got Luis in here as well.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So they're doing the thing, man. Let's take a look over here at the school DeFi University community and the article that I posted yesterday about ETHFi. So
Hey,
this
real
analysis,
quick, anybody that's interested in this, there are links, in every one of our episodes and on our channel. If you want to find, David's DeFi University or Metrics Finance. So go ahead.
yeah, definitely. So check out the links in the description on the DCA YouTube channel to join DeFi University on School. And so what I did here, and every single day I publish content, and we have calls that are live every single day. And I take that
I'm in them.
content and I post it every day. So we're always doing something different every single day. And my analysis of the EtherFi protocol, in my analysis, we walked through it live, and I created a slide deck. So this slide deck is what I want to walk through, but I also created a valuation model. So this is just a Claude public artifact, and this is pretty darn cool because what I did is I ran through a deep dive on the ETHFi tokenomics, and then I created this valuation model based on their tokenomics. And it allows you to play around with it a little bit to generate bull, bear, and base case scenarios based on the real tokenomics and revenue assumptions, which is really, really cool. And you can apply this methodology to just about any token. Um,
Is this valuation model on your DeFi University.xyz?
Not quite yet. It's
Okay.
only in the school community for right now, but I do plan to, in the tools section in DeFi University, the website, I do plan to, maybe over the weekend, start to add in all of these different valuation models that I've built out for specific protocol tokens. Um,
And just so everybody knows, DeFi University.xyz is all free. And there is free aspects on DeFi University if you want to go through those courses. His paid course, that's still $97.
oh yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's actually much more than one course. So the school
Yeah,
community
yeah,
here.
but just the $97 one is that's when you want to go to the next level. When you want to find a mentor, if you want to join a community, if you want to take, start learning advanced strategies, that's when I would suggest that you really, go for that, that paid course.
Yeah, and this is so there are a handful of courses that I've written and built out here. The first one, and I think the most important one, is the investor mindset course, because what we do as DeFi operators, I think it's 20% strategy and knowing how to operate, and 80% mindset. Like you got to be able to control this thing,
Yep.
and in order to do that, your mind is not built to be a consistently successful trader. It's a skill set that you've got to develop. It's a series of habits that you've got to instill in yourself. And this is the investor mindset course. It's really like 11 books that you can read through and go through all of these different lessons and exercises that I built here. So there's video content that walks you through every step of the way. That's the mindset course. I recommend that you start there. And then if you want to learn how to provide concentrated liquidity, I built out the concentrated liquidity provision course here. Still have more work to do with that. And then, of course, the money markets and finance concepts course. So DeFi finance concepts and the money markets. So the money markets course, I focus on the protocols that I use most often. So that's
Well,
Aave and Euler and
I think we
Morpho and
all do
Camino.
that because I mean, you as you use these protocols and you become more comfortable with them, and you've done your research on them, and you've seen the audits, and you know the history of them, and if they've had hacks, and that you understand, kind of the risk of using some of these protocols. I do the same thing. I kind of have zoomed in on a couple of protocols that I use for lending and I use for liquidity pools and things like that. And it's important that you do that because there's a lot of people out there that get into DeFi and they see a high APR on some obscure protocol, and they chase that APR, and next thing they know, it gets hacked, or the site just, or just disappears, the protocol just disappears, and off goes their money because it was custodial platform. So sorry, yeah, I
Yeah,
wanted to.
you gotta be careful for sure.
I see that way too much, even in our community. And I tell people repeatedly, don't chase APRs, don't chase APRs, don't chase APRs. And I still catch those degens, and they can do whatever they want. But, it's more often than not, they usually come back and they're like, okay, I lost that money.
So here's a reason why you shouldn't chase yield. You don't need to. You
No,
don't
you
need
don't.
to chase yield.
You
So like
don't.
here, I'm logging in here to Revert just so that I can share this. Like these positions that I'm in, let me just change this to USD. I always change the reference value to USD. But these positions that I'm in on Revert, these are about the lowest risk CLPs that you can be in, aside from maybe like a CBBTC or WBTC stablecoin LP. But aside from a Bitcoin LP, just because Bitcoin is less volatile than ETH, an ETH stablecoin LP on Uniswap, on Base, or on Mainnet, these are relatively low risk CLPs. But look at my yield, 180% fee APR in ETH paired with a stable on Base on Uniswap.
Well, and
That
can't
is
you loop on this to
phenomenal.
lever up even if you want?
So you can. There are two different ways that you can lever a position here on Revert. If I click on borrow, I've got two options. I can either borrow and have, I would have to, number one, deposit the NFT of this CLP
That's
onto
collateral.
the Revert. Yeah, exactly right. Onto the
Yeah.
Revert protocol as collateral. So I would lose custody of the CLP NFT. But in exchange for losing custody, I can borrow against it. So
Hmm.
if I borrow, by using this borrow button here, then whatever I decide to borrow will be deposited into my wallet. So I'll
Hmm.
have this cash in my wallet, and then I can go do something else with it in DeFi. And if I go and do something else with it in DeFi and earn more than what
Or you can
I'm
go to the
paying,
strip club, whatever.
I mean, whatever floats your boat, man. But yeah, you
Return on
could.
investment on that is terrible, though.
Yeah, I'm reminded of Arthur Hayes was talking about different ways that he could burn capital, and he showed in his most recent article at the very end of the article, he showed this like bottle of rosé, this
Yeah.
rosé champagne that was like $35,000 for just a regular bottle of
Holy
champagne,
shit.
and it's like, oh, dude, you know. Yeah, it would be pretty darn cool just to be able to do that. And I
I have
mean,
no desire.
I know, man. Well, you got if you're talking about going to a strip club, well, then
Oh,
you probably want
I
to
think
make it rain, right? Make it
for being a
rain with a
guy that was in the military
$30,000 bottle.
as long as I was, I think I've been to a strip club. I could probably count on one hand,
I
just
mean, thirty thousand
for
dollar
bachelor
bottle of
parties and
champagne,
stuff like
man.
that.
Oh my goodness.
I've always seen it as such a waste of money. It's just, I mean, there's literally nothing that you get out of it except frustrated.
So So here, if we bring it back to Revert, there are two different ways that you can borrow against your CLPs. You can either borrow and have those borrowed assets, so it would be USDC deposited into your wallet, or you can lever up this notional size of your
Mm,
CLP. I would recommend against using the leverage function. Now,
mm.
here's why. So how many times have you heard of people referring to CLPs as a way of generating leverage? Like, you have a leverage ratio with a CLP position. You'll see it on various different decentralized exchanges. Um, what they're talking about there is your position deltas in a CLP are greater than your spot deltas in the CLP. So if I just take a look here and say, okay, well, right now I have 4.71 positive ETH deltas. So I have 4.71 ETH and $33,000 roughly in this CLP. But what are my position deltas? Because if I have a very narrow range, then my deltas in the position are actually much greater than this figure here. So
And that
if
has
your
to do
range,
with movement because I think it's what you said. Basically, for every dollar that ETH moves, it moves however many deltas, right?
right, so these CLPs are nonlinear, which means that on the way up, you become less long. On the way down, you become more long. That's convexity and nonlinearity. That is different.
And real quick, and correct me if I'm wrong. That's because in the liquidity pool, as it's moving up and down, it's basically like if it's a stable ETH, a stable coin in ETH, then it is selling off USDC as it's going down. It's selling off USDC into ETH, giving you more exposure to ETH, and thereby making you long. And but the opposite is true as it goes up. Did I get that right?
Yes, yes, you did. And so let me just go ahead and draw out just an example here. So let's say that I'm in an ETH USDC CLP, and
Mm-hmm.
the spot price is smack dab in the middle of my range.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happens when price goes up? Well, if I am on
Sells off
entry,
ETH into the stable.
right. So on entry, if I'm equidistant from the spot price,
Mm-hmm.
then I've got ETH above and stables below. And
Mm-hmm.
so if number go up, then this ETH is sold for USDC on the way up. Now, on the way down, the exact opposite happens. The
Mm-hmm.
USDC is used to buy further ETH. And so what happens on the way up? You become less long until
Because
eventually
you have
you're
less
sitting
exposure to ETH.
because you have less ETH in the pool. Exactly
Mm-hmm.
right. Less exposure to ETH. So if you're sitting at a range on the upside, you have zero positive ETH deltas in the CLP because your ETH has been converted fully into the stable. Now,
Yep.
the exact opposite happens on the downside. If you're sitting at a range on the downside, then you're 100% in ETH, and now you are linear. You're just holding ETH spot.
Yep.
So here's the concept of leverage, though. If my range is narrow, then the speed at which this conversion happens increases. So the
Mm-hmm.
more narrow you set your range, the more quickly your position value changes because you're essentially using more leverage. Your position deltas go up the more
Got
narrow you set a range. The wider you set a range, the less quickly your position changes in value and the fewer position deltas you have. So if we bring things back over here to the lend borrow on revert, if I were to borrow against my CLP and these assets, this cash is deposited in my wallet, well, I haven't changed the notional value of the CLP. So my deltas haven't changed. But if I were to use the leverage function, borrow against the CLP, then whatever I borrow would be immediately swapped for further pooled assets, thereby increasing my position deltas. And also, since I borrowed against the CLP, now I've got a liquidation price. So if I've multiplied my position deltas and I've got a liquidation price, that simply means that if the market moves against me, I can accrue losses here very, very quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
if I were to accrue losses and find myself facing liquidation, then I would have to use either this deleverage function or I would have to come in with cash on hand to repay the borrow. If I use the deleverage function, I will lock in losses on the way down. So you've got to be really, really careful of using leverage, this
Mm-hmm.
specific leverage function. Now, if you borrow against the CLP, that is also a form of leverage, but it doesn't multiply your position deltas. So it's
Mm-hmm.
easier to manage. So
Gotcha.
that's why I choose to just borrow against the CLP. And then with what I borrow, I go and do something with it in DeFi to earn more than what I'm paying to borrow it.
Gotcha.
So this is like um, this is like the long leg of a basis trade if I were to hedge this position. So yeah, I really like these CLPs here. This has
Mhm.
been working extremely well. But
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish. I just,
no, no, no,
I don't.
I was just going to move on over to the ETHFi presentation, but
All right. Yeah,
sounds
do
like
a
you
little bit.
guys
No, go ahead and do a little bit of ETHFi, but there was some new functionality that came out on Orca, and I was wanting to get your input on a new project that somebody in the community brought up to us called Folks Finance. But go ahead and go over to EtherFi, and then we'll
So
go over
here
those.
let's take a look at Orca real quick. So are you referring to Wave Break or what are you referring to, Mike? The new
No,
functionality.
somebody was talking about, and I don't know how new it is, but I guess liquid staking. So you can liquid stake your Orca to receive X Orca and earn rewards funded by Orca's protocol fees. And right now, X Orca earning is 82.89% APR.
So this may look attractive, and it is. However, I would be very hesitant to
Okay.
lock or stake tokens over the next, basically through the end of the year. Um,
Do you know how
because
long? Like, is there like a cool? Okay, here we go. You can unstake at any time, but a 7 day cooldown period applies. So, yeah, so just so
So
everybody knows.
imagine if we take a look
Yeah,
at Orca over
yeah,
here on TradingView, Mike. So if you've got to wait, let's just say that you know Orca, the governance token for the Orca DEX, let's
takes
just say
off.
that this rips higher, right?
Yeah,
It just goes straight up.
and
This
you're
is a
like,
weekly.
I want to get out. You know,
You
I want
want
to
to get out, but you
unstake,
can't.
and you got to wait 7 days.
You got to wait 7 days. Yeah. So yeah, that's suboptimal.
I
You
well,
don't.
me personally, I don't like doing anything that's more than like maybe a couple of hours, if that. Me personally, this isn't something I'm going to be aping into, but I definitely want to make sure that people are aware of as new functionality and new ways to earn come out. I definitely want to make people aware of them. But yeah, I was just wanting to get kind of your thoughts on this new liquid staking, because liquid staking means that you can stake and then you get a liquidity token that potentially you could use to further earn.
So this is extremely exciting to me, and I'll tell you why. Because this presentation that I built on EtherFi's
Yeah.
governance token, ETHFi, the whole basis of my investment thesis for this is that ETHFi is a successful, essentially like a DeFi bank,
Mhm.
and protocol revenues accrue to token holders. Now, Orca is I'm assuming, is a successful decentralized exchange on Solana, but without having done any more research on what their revenues look like, what their expenses look like, I couldn't really speak to it. However,
Well, let's take a look.
this type of incentive mechanism, Mike, this is exactly what I'm looking for because if it turns out that Orca is an extremely successful decentralized exchange, meaning the protocol generates a ton of revenue, then if you hold the governance token Orca and stake it, that would be a way that you could essentially, receive protocol. You could receive value from the protocol. It's a value accrual mechanism, and that's really what I want to see out of these tokens. There needs to be some way that protocol revenues are returned to token holders. And hey, this is a great step in the right direction for Orca. Really like this. Because without something like this, then the governance token is just that governance, which makes it, how is that valuable again? So I really want there to be a way for, protocol revenues to return to token holders. And it looks like Orca is doing that. But we need to dive into this a little bit more to be able
So
to speak to it.
so this is DeFi Llama, and this is the what I use for a lot of my research. And then this is the Orca Dex. So the TVL is 451.8 million. Fees annualized is 108 million. Revenue annualized is 13 million. Holders revenue annualized 2.6 million. Dex volume the past 30 days 15.9 billion. And Orca liquidity about looks like about
You
a
know
million.
what's crazy?
What's that?
Hyperliquid did that over the last 24 hours in volume.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
think
oh
that
yeah. No, I mean
you know,
there's
Aster.
definitely
Oh yeah,
there's
yeah, but
definitely
this
larger
is
dexes.
Dex. But I think didn't Aster do like 65 billion or something like that?
Oh yeah.
Some
No, I mean
crazy.
there's definitely larger dexes, but it's
I'm
just
just saying for comparison. Yeah.
absolutely. No, absolutely. So yeah, it just just to get an idea of the size, and then over here, of course, we have the TVL revenue, Dex volume, and if there was any events, it would pop up. But
So
yeah, just
can you highlight where it shows revenue or protocol revenue? Because usually DeFi Llama shows that.
well, here's the protocol revenue. Looks like 13 million revenue annualized. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
So this is
Yep.
calculated by taking data from the last 30 days and multiplying it by 12 to annualize it.
So that is very low,
Yeah.
very.
All
So
right.
just as a point of comparison, Athena makes from what I've read, about $14 million a day in protocol revenue.
But it's you got to
Right.
compare apples
I'm
and
just,
apples.
it's not. You're right. You're right. It's not apples and
Yeah.
apples. Yep. No,
So yeah, no, I mean if you had CZ tweeting about Orca, it might be a little different,
maybe.
but yeah, I mean it's you definitely have to keep these things into in mind whenever you're looking to put your liquidity somewhere. And it's not something Orca's not something, or that liquid staking is something I'm going to rush off and do. But again, I want to make sure that people are aware of different functionality. If Solana, Orca, things like that are something you're bullish on, just want to make sure that you're aware of these different things. But definitely do your own research.
So what
So
you got
this,
here with folks finance?
yeah. So I sent this to you and Jake earlier, and somebody in the community actually brought this up to me, and it's called Folks Finance. And so you can deposit. And there's some really good, like USDE, Athena's stablecoin. You can earn about 22%, APY on it. You got the staked USDE. You can earn 19.6, but I mean, there's some really good earning on it. And
So
then,
Mike, can you pause for a second there? So you
yeah,
see how when you're looking at, and you just mentioned on USDE some like amazing yield. You see how there's like what looks like a little icon in the corner there. So
yeah.
what's the reward yield? Because I can't. The screen's a little bit too small. I can't see it. What does it say
So
there?
the looks like the rewards APY is 16.08%. Yield from token rewards, weekly epoch ends, and then it looks like the total APY. So it looks like the interest APY is the yield from lending on folks' finance, and that's 5.61. But then you get rewards APY from AVAX for 20, and for a total of 21.69.
Okay, so this is on AVAX C chain. Got it.
Yes. And then you can, obviously you can, there's a bunch of different chains. So folks finance, it actually has um, Avalanche, Ethereum, Base, BNB, Arbitrum, Polygon, Say, and a couple of other ones. And so
Wait,
it's
so here,
multi-chain.
so Mike, I'm looking at Folks Finance right now on my screen, and I see the rewards APY of plus 16.07%. The native APY just
Yeah.
from lending on Folks Finance is 5.61%. But
Yes.
if you notice where it says weekly epoch ends 0710, so
Hmm.
I'm assuming that the nomenclature there is reversed. So what they
Yeah.
mean is October 7th. So that's like 3 days.
This
So
platform must be non-US, because the foreign countries invert the date.
those damn foreigners, America,
America
America,
trying to take our date.
take my jobs.
That's right. So basically, I was I deposit just a couple like 5-10 bucks on here. I'm basically farming points for an airdrop. But like I said, nothing. I'm not depositing anything crazy. I'm still feeling out this platform. I'm definitely not saying rush out and dump a bunch of liquidity on here. But there's also loans. So you can, obviously you can deposit, you can take out loans against that collateral, and there's just some really interesting, APRs on this. You can also, of course, swap. Let's see what else we got here.
So, one thing about something like this, Mike, is I think that this exemplifies one of the challenges with single lending when you're not earning a fixed yield like you do with Pendle PTs. These rewards, they tend to be fleeting. Now, I don't
Oh,
know
absolutely.
when. Yeah, this is great for a couple of days. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, I mean, it could be a
Earning.
couple of weeks, could be a couple of months, but definitely something you have to keep an eye on daily.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
no,
because
this specific opportunity on Folks though for supplying single lending USDE on
yeah,
AVAX chain, this opportunity only exists for the next 3 days because once that
well,
reward program ends, then you're only earning 5.6%.
well, unless it's renewed, because that's
Sure.
that's happened to me on Uniswap. For a
Oh
while
yeah.
there, they were giving those bonuses in Uni token, and I think it was like every 2 weeks or every 10 days or something like that, and a couple of times it just reset, and they kept doing it. So it's just,
So
but yeah, you
you know what
definitely
would be a
daily
great
want to
way
be checking in on this, especially if you're doing any kind of advanced strategy to where
to
you're lending
Speaking
and
of which,
borrowing.
yeah, so here's an advanced strategy
Yeah.
that comes to mind just taking a look at this. So, what you could do is you could supply USDE, earn this 21% with the majority of it paid in AVAX, and then
Mhm.
loop it by borrowing USDE against it. So
Yeah.
you have a correlated borrow, you're earning, nearly 22% on the collateral, and you're paying, a variable at 6.97% on the debt. So that is, depending on what your LTV is here, the max LTV. So if your spread is like 14 points and you've got like a 91% LTV
Well,
on
and the assets are going to
USDE.
move together.
Exactly right. They're correlated. But if you've got
Yeah.
like a 91%, they're the same thing. You're supplying and
Yeah.
borrowing the same thing. So
Exactly.
if you've got like a 91% LTV, you could really push the leverage. You could use like 10x leverage. So if you've got a 14x spread and you're doing, 10x, a 10x levered position, you could do 140% for the next couple of days,
Yeah.
minus whatever you're paying to borrow. So it would be something like 135. But dude, 135%, even for just a couple of days on USDE, that's pretty darn good, man.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I found this platform very interesting, and then not to mention, and I have no idea. I have not done a deep dive on this yet, but the airdrop. For any deposits that you have on here, as far as staking or supplying, you earn points. And and if that's going to end up being $5 worth of whatever their token is, or 5,000. I don't know. But
So you
yeah,
wouldn't be able to do this in size, though. There's not enough liquidity here, so that's a shame. But interesting, definitely interesting. I was taking a look at on DeFi Llama Mike at
yeah,
Folks Finance, and you know these guys have been around for a while, but not a whole lot of confidence in Folks Finance until it looks like just recently.
it looks like
So
there's some Bitcoin options. And it looks like some of them are like a wrapped Bitcoin, 7.86%
WBTC.
on Say.
Oh, got it. So yeah, say, is that a layer two now? Didn't they
Honestly, I
migrate?
don't know a whole lot about Say. I'm not going to pretend like I know a whole lot about it.
Yeah, so say is from the Cosmos ecosystem. It's one of those IBC chains. And I
Okay.
think, didn't they like, I think they decided to migrate to EVM. I'm
I
pretty
think
sure.
so. And
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of people bullish on Say.
Yeah, yeah. There was a hype wave where a bunch of those IBC chains pumped, basically like at the beginning of 2024. It was like Injective and Say and a handful of others. But they've all given back their gains. We'll probably see them pump again during a true alt season, though. So, Mike, I've got a couple more minutes here with you, man, and I wanted to just run through this EtherFi presentation
Oh yeah, go
real
ahead.
quick. Yeah, so check this out. EtherFi is a leading ETH restaking protocol, but it's also a DeFi bank. And the reason why I'm bullish on ETHFi is because it's got this proven economic model with direct token value accrual. It's fixed supply with a transparent vesting schedule. It has this expanding product ecosystem. I live off of EtherFi products, and it is basically like critical infrastructure in Ethereum's restaking economy. Now, that is a core risk, though, because it's basically built on top of eigenlayer. So if something happens to eigenlayer, EtherFi would be in some doo doo. So let's let's go ahead and
Not to get
move.
too technical.
I know, right? So um, it's really important if you're going to take a look at EtherFi that you understand what LSTs and LRTs are. I don't want to spend any time here because I just want to get into the core investment thesis. So EtherFi has some dominance in the liquid restaking, I guess you would call it niche or industry within Ethereum. I'm not quite sure what you want to call it here, but there are a handful of different products. There's the EtherFi stake product. There's ETHFi liquid. Now this allows you to run an arbitrage on everything that you buy in real life. So I'm living off of this. So if I supply EtherFi liquid USD as collateral, earning 10%, and then when I go to spend and buy something in real life, EtherFi borrows against that EtherFi liquid USD at 4%. So I've got a 6% spread on what I'm paying or what I'm buying in real life. And I ran the math on this. If I do nothing and that spread remains at 6 points, then it would take 74 months for my purchases to get paid off. So it's almost like an inverse credit card. It's so cool. Um, so yeah, that's the debit card product. It allows you to spend in real life, and then they're planning to expand to do all sorts of other different things. Add different products. So really, really like this. This is a little bit about the restaking engine. Okay, so tokenomics. This is the important stuff. The vesting and unlock schedule is transparent, and even though right now this is a relatively low float, high FDV protocol, we don't have to worry about unlocks for months. So if there's going to be an alt season run, it will be on the lower float, which is great. So that's a good thing. There are different, utility vectors and demand drivers for the ETHFi token. The membership tiers is one vector of demand, but you've also got the protocol itself makes money. Who would have thunk it? A protocol
A
like
business
this,
that makes money.
a business that makes
What
money.
what is this?
Like,
What is this chicanery that you speak of?
I know, but that's most of these crypto protocols are just vapor, man. It's like
Well,
we're
it's
pre-revenue,
pretty
you
much.
know. Mike, I think the Starlink over there, the Starlink is cutting out or something. Mike, you're Starlink.
Oh, nothing I can do about it, man. It
It's all
happens.
good. It's all good. Yeah. So EtherFi makes money. $77 million annualized. I expect this to grow exponentially. Between 5 and 50% of this protocol revenue is allocated to the DAO, which is a direct distribution to staked ETHFi holders. So if you hop on over here into the valuation model, notice revenue to buyback. So if it's stuck at 5%, Well, even on the bull model, you're going to get a bull case here of $1, and ETHFI is trading at like $1.80 right now. So there is, some other type of premium that's added to the price that doesn't show up in this model. But I really wanted to build a model just to focus on the fundamental drivers of price, because once you start thinking about these governance and protocol tokens, and literally any crypto asset, digital asset, as like almost like an equity item, where if I'm going to hold the token, there's got to be some value accrual mechanism. Like I've got to, it doesn't have to be like a dividend, right? But it's got to be some type of yield, some form of yield. I've got to get paid to hold the token, and the underlying business that the protocol is has to be a successful business. It's got to actually make money. Gone are the days of,
You are
we're
not ancient enough, David.
pre-revenue. I guess.
Making
Yeah,
way too much sense. You need to
I
stop
know,
that.
right? Yeah, no. we gotta talk about how you feel about something, and oh man, I
Yeah,
feel good.
I'm
Like, dude, I
bullish.
don't,
I'm
I
bullish.
don't,
It's like,
I don't
oh, I'm
care.
so.
I don't care about feelings, man. I care about
I
numbers.
honestly, I am not a feelings person. I'm right there with you. It's
Yeah,
I like to put my money where I feel like it's the business or the protocol is being run properly like a business. And because I mean, then you're not running into things like freaking FTX, where they're running around having parties with your money.
yeah.
It's like I want to know it's being run by professionals. I want to know that they're building it out to be profitable, that they're reinvesting in growing. That they are going to meetings with legislators, and that they are a part of legislation that's being drafted and staying in compliance with it. These are the things, the fundamentals that I invest in. I don't care about price. I know that's contrary to a lot of people, but
I care about
price is
price.
up.
Price
If
is
it's
important.
what's well, it is, but
Yeah.
I care about long term. Like if I'm going to hold a token, and not just buy it, wait for it to go up and sell it. If I'm going to hold it, like something like EtherFi and stake it, and earn yield on it and things like that, I want to know that long term it's going to have value. Otherwise, why buy it? Why stake it? It's just it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, for me to buy something and stake it and things like that, I have to believe long term in a project.
So I just want to be clear about my position on EtherFi. My position on EtherFi is meant to be a quote unquote long term position
Yeah,
for the next couple of months. Like that's long term in this space here, man. Because
yeah,
I mean, there is something um, intangible, something that's not really measurable.
mm,
I'm investing in EtherFi because when I do my due diligence, I see that it's an investable protocol, and the
mm,
ETHFI token returns value to token holders. So from a fundamental perspective, it looks pretty good to me. But
mm,
my goal here is really I'm just speculating. Like, I don't know that it's going to run higher, but I also don't plan to hold this for years. I plan to hold this for like the next 60 days, maybe, because
gotcha.
after a true alt season run, most alts give back their gains, not just against their US dollar pairs, but especially against their Bitcoin pairs. Now, there are some alts that have not given back the majority of their BTC pair gains. But I
Mm,
have no idea whether ETHFi is going to be one of those that gives back its gains or doesn't give back its gains. So I'm basically just speculating that this thing runs to like $8 over the next couple of months, and I will say thank you very much, EtherFi, and I will exit. But
yeah.
that's basically it. I just wanted a little bit of fundamental reassurance, and that's why I built out this research note here. So
No, that's great, and I know that this is the type of thing that you put out in the live calls and
every day,
things like that. And the reason I know that is I'm usually in the calls
you're
the
there. Yeah,
past couple. So no, like I said, I mean I'm just like all of you out there. I'm learning daily. I'm always learning something. I have people that are in our Discord that teach me things daily. I'm learning from David. I'm learning from Jake. If once you stop learning or you think you have this figured out, you're setting yourself up for failure. I mean, this, crypto, DeFi, all of it is still, evolving very quickly. And you got to keep your finger on the pulse, because if you don't, oh, sorry, um, then you're going to get left behind, and, you're going to make some sloppy mistakes. Because, again, like David was just talking about, if like, say you bought EtherFi and, you thought, okay, yeah, I'm going to hold this for the next couple of years, you would hold it all the way up, to $8 or whatever.
Oh no. So the reason why I don't consider many of
Pull back.
these, so Mike, your
Yeah,
video and audio,
I
yeah.
got it. I got it. I can see when it freezes up. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'll just summarize, but yeah, that's just you got to keep your finger on the pulse, stay educated, find a mentor, find a community, and make sure that you are constantly educating yourself on how this is evolving, and don't spread yourself too thin. If you're interested in the metaverse, if you're interested in gaming, if you're interested in whatever, for the most part, try to focus. And, this goes back to mentality. Have the discipline to focus and not be in too many things, because, if you're investing in things with minimal knowledge, there's a much higher level of failure, as opposed to becoming a subject matter expert in one thing. And me personally, I've chosen DeFi and RWAs just because that's where big money is putting their liquidity.
Yeah, man. So, specialized knowledge, becoming a domain expert, building that level of domain skill, the thing that can really speed up that process of building a DeFi skill set is learning from someone who's done it before or who lives in DeFi as a DeFi operator. That will really help you to speed up that process. So I'm one of those people. Jake is one of those people, Jake Call over at Metrics. And we both would love to work with you if you're looking to build a DeFi skill set and learn how to become an operator. So just the one thing that I would say about that is you've got to really want it. You have to put in the time to become, and you don't have to become an expert, but you do have to put in time to learn this skill set. So, I can't want it for you. If you want to be bankless, if you want to live on DeFi, if you want to just learn more about it and start building a skill set, well, then take the first step, take some action, start going through all the free material, and decide if this is something that you want to dedicate more time to. And if yes, then take the next step after that and join something paid. It'll make you accountable to yourself.
Hmm.
So that's what I got for you, Mike.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, David, and I appreciate everyone out there watching live. Looks like we got a couple hundred people watching. If you could, on the way out, helps us grow the channel. Just hit the like. It's free. It's easy, and we appreciate you for doing it. So, till next time, David, have a great weekend. We'll see you next
You
week.
too, Mike. Thanks. See you guys.
Take care.
Peace.